Yeah.
Just 5 minutes, yeah.
All right, guys, here we are. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I think we had Richard was the last one. So it's
been a long week. I had the tattoo here, there, so in Denmark, followed by a seminar at the gym. I have no idea where I am at the moment. So the last podcast we did, I have no idea. But yes.
But Julien and I just wrapped up a really good meeting, good conversation we were having that probably should have been recorded. It's it's always those saved for the podcast moments. But we flesh out a lot of these concepts, and one of the things that I've been looking into, and it lines up with everything that we do,
explain the book.
So, the Unabomber has published 3 books. No, one of it is actually the first Unabomber manifesto.
I'm going to read it too, just so you'll know.
What is it? It's Industrial Society and Its Future is the name of the book.
Well, the dude was a bright guy. No one ever denied that fact.
Before the CIA got to him at Harvard University while he was 16 years old. That's a fact. Look into it.
MK Ultra. That actually, it is a fact that he was on the MK Ultra program.
They claim it was for weeks, but there's documentation that leads to believe he was a part of that program for almost 2 or 3 years. So,
well, the dude on the Julien podcast, explained that his handler was the same guy that seemed to have handled like Charles Manson. Yeah, exactly. And followed him for years. There's some weird shit. Go see Rogan.
No, that is not
the guy who wrote the book. I remember like that book, I have it like Manson and whatever. Oh, I have to. I just started, but there was some weird shit on all this.
Now, on the Unabomber thing, that is not to indicate that the CIA made the Unabomber do the bomb things, but he was a brilliant man who basically got damaged in one way or another mentally with drugs and mental conditioning, and did some writing and mailed some bombs. But the writing is very, from a systems analysis point, kind of hard to argue with on a lot of things. But what the basis of it is this isn't the podcast about the Unabomber, but
although it is coming.
Well, to be honest with you, that might be.
Once I've read it, we're going to talk about that.
But the basis of it really is that there is a constant battle that's going to go on between technological evolution, if you will,
always,
and the way our society gets intertwined with that since the Industrial Revolution. And the natural, and their natural state as a human being, and your natural ability, and like that, a system, technological social systems will always evolve at a much faster rate than human beings can. And we can't design systems that will accommodate the growth of technology or the growth of advanced industrial life that are going to basically evolve at that pace, that aren't going to come at the cost of human autonomy, joy, freedom, whatever that is.
Destruction.
Yeah. And I think what we were talking about was how much of the things that we run into with what we teach at StrongFit is a matter of undoing that.
Or at least
take the first step away
putting the light back on humans.
Yeah.
I think really that's what we want to do. We are at podcast number 126. Something. Anyway, and so we're finding our voice as we do this more and more and more.
Yeah, you think 200 hours talking, we might.
We're going to get there eventually. It takes time, like all mastery, it takes time. So I think right now we're purple belt in the podcast game. At least I feel like that about myself. And so we're going to get to black belt eventually. But I think our voice is toward putting the light back on humans. I think especially in today's world, everything is about technological advances, how cool the iPhone is and stuff like that. Yeah. But we talk about it, but not enough about, for example, social media has brought higher performance in sports.
Yep.
Why? Because you can see your competitors doing crazy shit, so now it pushes you to train harder and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of very good stuff coming from social media.
Those things are the reason that I'm here. It's the reason we met.
Exactly, through podcasts and things like that.
And so there is value in what they do and reach, but there is also a price.
Then we have to look, but so the key is to not just talk about it's good, but also the fact that the system is, for example, my daughter's generation is going to get wrecked, like especially the girls, when it comes to anxiety, because they are being judged now 24/7. Every time they're on it, it's the women and, like they're very social creatures, always balancing one versus the other. The anxiety that social media leads to is absolutely incredible. We saw that in the US. I was reading a paper where the percentage of girls coming out as trans has gone by like 4,000%. Usually before it was, even amongst children, it was boys.
Yeah.
going out as trans toward women, and you had a very small percentage of women, girls going toward boys, and now you see that percentage has skyrocketed. But what they also saw is that it happened in groups. So you have one girl in a group of 10 that says, well, I think I'm trans toward a boy. And then suddenly out of the 10, you'll have another 2 that will also say, well, me too, because it's like a group system, and it allows them to go like, oh, that's why I'm anxious. Yeah. I'm a trans, that's why. Whereas that might have nothing to do with it. But then the tribe starts to build itself a certain way. And so you will see, not just trans, but just in general, all problems.
In
because of the tribe factors.
Not problems, just in actions that are taken to mediate. This is truthfully, it is, we are engineering somatic error by all of these things, these processes.
And providing false solutions. If you're not trans and you convince yourself you are, it is a problem, because you're going to fuck yourself up.
Or if you're overweight, we need to simply present you with numbers with which you need to reduce of macros.
Right, exactly. Or you're overweight and they tell you it's not bad for your health. Because now there's science that is, and I'm putting it on hashtag for anybody listening, providing that one fucking study that's been debunked so many times, that being fatter actually make you less susceptible to injuries or disease or whatever. So now that they're creating tribe where everybody has the right to say whatever they want, whether it's factual or not, that is creating a problem.
Yeah. Now, I'm not at a point yet, where I want to preach that we need to completely tear down the entire technological industrial age. Yet. But what I am seeing is that what we need to do is when people are experiencing somatic error, really is that's the nature of it. The way that your body needs things to be versus the things that it's constantly subjected to is definitely just throws everything off all the time. And the first solution, we cannot be solving these problems by going further into adding another technological thing to it, because we're just feeding the issue. Things like manual therapy, passive therapies, things like I like a lot of these things work. Infrared lights.
And again, it's decomposing the human being as part of the system. Yeah. So I talk about the matrix all the time, but that's what this is. It's like you have a problem here. Instead of considering that it is a human problem and therefore goes through a number of steps, so they can be emotional, they can be mental, they can be a number of things, because that's how the whole thing works together. So instead of looking at the human as a whole, we are decomposing it like it's a car, and then we're saying, oh, we just need to change the tires. Yeah. Except that works on a car, it doesn't work on a human being. That is not the way this works. And so we need to put the light back on the fact that this is a human experience problem, not a technological one. So you being fat is not just a macro issue. And no, we cannot just use macros for 6 weeks. That's the next podcast, to get you started.
Yeah, we gotta do
and then from there, and then from there, now that you have learned what to eat, you can do it on your own. Yeah. This is the argument I hear all the time. It doesn't work like that, because all you're doing is separating the person from their own, again, we're going to talk about it, their own system, their own feelings about food, their own hunger, and tell them, we have a solution that comes from the outside, because you cannot rely on your own signals. Fundamentally, this is wrong. This is giving the human to the system and saying the system will fix you because you as a human is not good enough to do it yourself. Yeah. And we are exactly against that. What we want to say is no. The human is good enough to do it. The human is actually better than the system in place. We have to all see that any cell in our body is far stronger computation-wise than any cell phone out there. Yeah. Even the Apple cell phone is nothing compared to the complexity and power of the human body. Of a single cell, an amoeba has a computation power that the Apple computer does not. Yeah. That's a fact. We have to stop with, we have to put the light bites on the biological prowesses, not the non-life. Yeah. Life is stronger than non-life.
I had a good talk with a guy from the seminar this last weekend about we had a great seminar, really good group. Yeah, it was a really fun time. Yeah. But we were talking between the break about like stim, because I had my calf stuff, and about electric stimulation and stuff, and it was like, yeah, it's good. I used to have one. I liked it, and it was, but for me to use it as he was like, well, do you guys ever do this, do the thing? And I was like, I think it probably works and stuff. And then when he had mentioned, well, why don't we go one step further? I said, Julien doesn't care about stim because that's, while it might work in one way or another, I'd rather just have the person figure out how to use, like, let's make the person a part of this process.
Don't get injured in the first place.
Yes. But once you're there, you know what I mean? Like, while I understand electrical stimulation.
What about next time?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, see, if you do just the stim, then you're never going to learn about not getting injured the next time.
And that doesn't mean that those things don't work in the lens with which they're needed. It just means that I don't care to be the expert of it, and I'd rather do tools that are human-based.
No, but it's always the same argument, because they're going to say, well, first you do the stim, and then you learn not to get injured next time.
And we'll cover that in nutrition, where that flaw is
it's a flaw. It's a flawed thinking. You cannot do that. You cannot fix something by separating the problem from the human that is having the problem, and then thinking that you're going to put them back after. Yeah. It's taking, like, I take the heart out of the chest and then I fix the heart and I put it back in. You're thinking about a car, not about a human being. It doesn't work like that.
So that's one of the lenses with which we're going to be taking lots of things through in some episodes of the podcast here. Is as we see a problem, we're in the problem-solving business, truthfully, is as we see a problem, what we're going to look for, this is one thing that you can do as an exercise, is when you see a problem that's going on either physically, mentally, emotionally, with nutrition, with you, with the person you work with, look at what the system is succumbing to with just modern social life.
Yeah.
Society, technology, travel, work, commutes, all those things that are maybe a step or two beyond the natural, the outdoor, the wild, whatever that would be, and then make the first direction that you look to just be away from that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're probably looking towards the right solution.
Yeah. And life and non-life is not the same. I've talked about it in so many podcasts. You cannot try to integrate a system based on life by using a system based on non-life.
Yeah.
By definition. Yeah. They literally do, one goes toward entropy, the other one tries to get away from it. It's literally, they are the opposite of each other.
There was a very interesting thing that was brought up on a podcast about the COVID stuff, was that about the concept of just life, right? It's not randomness, it truly has intent. Is that one of the issues with the virus they mentioned was there was talk that was there was a big thing that came out that said a beach party was responsible for a bunch of spreads of the virus. And the issue was, turns out it wasn't a beach party, it was a house party that was on the beach. So it's very different because the issue was you wanted people to be able to be outside because that, as far as we can tell, is the safest place to be. It's very good for it.
As usual, they put it into the wrong context.
But the concern was for biologists that had read this, that had looked at this, just the headline was like, oh shit, because their biggest concern was, one, we want people to be outside because that works. Two, you need to be careful about being outside because this virus right now is not capable of spreading very well in the open air in the sunshine, but it is evolutionarily incentivized to be able to do that, which means don't fuck around, because if there's a way that it can learn to, it is incentivized to do it. And that is the nature of what anything that has life is. And that is very much...
Although that virus is not killing that many people anymore. It's infecting some, but I don't see diseases going up. I don't see death cases going up anymore, or very little. I'm just saying, can we do another COVID episode? Was I right or not? I was wrong about one thing, is how long the shit has lasted. Yep. That has baffled me. I thought 3 months for sure. We had 6.
The thing that this was the thing that you can look back on. I've been quoted quite thoroughly to say that I really believed that my biggest fear was they're going to hang on to all these little preventative measures, and our life is just always going to be this stupid mess of masks and shit and barriers and plexiglass and...
No, but they don't even do the masking in Amsterdam anymore.
Yeah,
it's gonna go away. So, once you kill the economy enough, they'll have to stop.
So, COVID rant will come some other time.
Yeah,
when we decide we don't want any more YouTube views.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, the direction you're going to kind of see us going through a lot of things is going to be in that we're going to be looking away from the system.
Away from the system.
Yeah. So, all right, thanks, guys. See you next time. If you want to support the podcast, head on over to podcast.strongfit.com. There you could donate or join the YouTube channel. Also, go to strongfit.com. There you're going to find our online courses, education, and all of our seminar dates should be there as well. Head on over to strongfitlibrary.com to keep up to date on everything Julien's been working on. And follow StrongFit1 on Instagram and Tyler F. and Stone.